That's badass. Well, let's talk about what a lot of folks don't realize. This shit's expensive. It's expensive to compute. It's expensive to store that data.
Correct.
How practical is it for language learning models like ChatGPT to start to get integrated into search engines in a meaningful way? Because Bing has already openly integrated with ChatGPT in a current beta, and it's alongside their search experience, right? But that's got to be expensive, man. That's got to be real expensive. And so I think about it in the context of, I don't believe that business leaders understand A, how complex this stuff is, and B, how expensive it can get. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, the amount of computational power, depending on what models are being deployed and trained and set up initially, I mean, it's crazy. I don't know how to put it into relatable terms.
Yeah, it's very expensive, right? That's first and foremost. So, at least in my mind, you have a cost to store the data.
Correct.
You have a cost to access the data. You have a cost to load your data into the machine learning service and train it.
Yep.
And then you have a cost to let users use that service.
Yeah, and then the time associated with all of those.
Well, yeah, that doesn't include any HR costs or, professional
Adds
resources or consultants, et cetera. Like all that stuff's going to add up. Okay. But the largest one is going to be when you release it publicly.
Yes.
So the context here is the cost conversation gets extremely complicated because there's a multitude of variables that impact how much you pay. And also sometimes the rates you pay can be variable depending on how many of those resources are available to perform that type of machine learning service.
Correct.
So let's put that bucket off to the side. Let's focus on Microsoft and what they did with OpenAI and how that's going to really impact search, because search is a really good application for a language learning model, right? I want some information, give me information back. That's fundamentally a search engine.
Yep.
Right? So Microsoft invests $10 billion into ChatGPT with the definition that they have to use Microsoft Azure. Okay? And then Microsoft goes and integrates ChatGPT with Azure, right? And ChatGPT is now available in that beta version with Microsoft. And you can integrate, you can ask it questions, it gives you responses, it cites sources. It's pretty slick.
Yeah, and it was also a slick negotiation tactic for OpenAI because now, with Microsoft, because now they've got all of that inside of their, data centers. Latency.
So
interconnectivity is just right there.
Has a new war started with Google? Because I basically see this as like, and this is the question I wanted to ask you. The language learning model is the tip of the AI spear with ChatGPT, in my opinion.
Yeah. And
I see large tech companies really going ham on this because, I mean, from Microsoft's perspective, do you think it was a good mover? Do you think it was a good move to do what they did?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you think this allows them to do to Google?
I think it's fresh minds, first of all, is always a good one. Essentially putting your money into a research organization who's looking to, break the rules, find out what's possible, what's not is always, a good thing.
So my thought process, just thinking about this a little bit more like tactically, maybe I'll go fishing with better bait here.
Yeah.
Is you said earlier, Google Cloud Platform was the lead in machine learning capabilities right now out of the major cloud platforms.
I think, let me put this in a better way. Before GCP existed, there was machine learning happening at Google.
Okay.
It was integrated into all their products in some capacity. Could be filters in, Gmail. could be spam detection. It's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. What I was bringing up is, they've built a culture on integrating machine learning from day one. Again, not from literal day one, but you know what I mean?
You nailed it. Their fundamental business is built around that, right? So if we go off the assumption that their fundamental business has been built around that, and they largely have been a front runner or an early adopter.
There we go. Yeah.
Right.
That's a great
and
way of saying
Microsoft has been a laggard.
They definitely have.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's look at their businesses. Google is funded by advertising.
Correct.
Most of that coming from search advertising.
Correct.
If you have a chatbot that can give you responses, do you think that's going to impact the amount of money that Google makes from search ads?
100% yes.
So in my mind, I think Microsoft's over here like, hey, we have a really diverse revenue stream.
Correct.
And we need to catch up on the cloud. Google's cloud platform, Google Cloud Platform, is largely subsidized by Google search ads.
Correct.
So Bing and Microsoft can afford to write off its entire revenue that it gets from its search engine because it's got
bingo
all these other products that it sells: Azure, SQL Server, Microsoft Office, Windows, etc. Right? So they've got Xbox. They've got all these diverse revenue streams. Google pretty much sells ads. Google's an advertising company. Don't fool yourself. So in my mind, I see this as a threat to Google's business, very, very well positioned by Microsoft.
Yeah.
To try to hit their major revenue model to slow down their cloud to get Microsoft to speed up. And then, like you said, the strategic acquisition with OpenAI. Now, guess what they get? They get
investment.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Investment. Thank you. Again, whiskey. So I see that as, this is basically the first shot in the AI race. This is the first public shot in the AI race. So to me, it's got to be wildly fascinating to see because Google launched a version of Google with a language learning model in it called Baird.
Yeah.
And it was terrible.
Yeah.
They produced a false fact
JWST.
about the James Hubble telescope.
James Webb.
Thank you.
James Webb Space Telescope.
Thank you.
JWST.
I joined the Hubble telescope and the James Webb.
Yeah, no worries.
Right. Thank you for the correction. It botched it. Right.
Yeah.
Google stock was down like 8%.
Yep.
So I mean, for me, this is wildly fascinating because you and I, obviously being technology consultants, we're largely looking at this like, okay, how do we not only shift our own business to be successful with this, but how are we helping clients shift their business to be successful with this? But then you got to think about it in another dimension, which is, oh shit, the largest digital commerce space online, which is search, is going through a paradigm shift.
Very much